Title 42 will stay in place for now. The Supreme Court saying the Trump-era order must remain active until at least February as border towns deal with an unprecedented number of migrant encounters and crossings. President Biden commenting on the ruling on his way to St. Croix. Watch this.
The court is not going to decide until June, apparently, and in the meantime, we have to enforce it. But I think it's overdue.
Joining the Hot Topics all morning long, Adam Johnson, David Nelson. All right, David, your reaction to the president off to St. Croix. And we've still got a border crisis. It's in full effect.
I thought the best comment I heard was from Adam actually earlier when he said the optics weren't great, and they certainly aren't. I guess, the Supreme Court is punting this, and when are we going to have a real conversation about border security? We've been talking about it all morning long, and we seem to always punt this. And it seems that, Washington has become this I win, you lose politics. And the only thing that matters is protecting your turf. And the two sides don't sit down and get to the heart of the matter. When is that going to change? Because I think the American people have pretty much had it with both sides of the aisle. The omnibus bill and the tragedy that inflicted on us, as well as all part of that same, paralyzed Washington that can't seem to get anything done except when it helps themselves.
Yeah, and Adam, the border crisis in particular, I asked Congressman Burgess about this. He's from Texas. Yeah. And, Greg Abbott had sent the Texas National Guard down there, and he said, well, mixed results. So it can't be a state-by-state issue. It's got to be a federal fix. But I think SCOTUS said yesterday pretty clearly, if I'm reading this right, they said, this is a congressional issue. This is not our problem. We're a body of law. Right. You need to deal with this, Congress.
Well, and there don't appear to be any laws. There doesn't appear to be any, logic either. Take the notion of ask, don't tell, to the next step, look but don't touch. Yeah. We've been showing pictures all morning of U.S. Army reservists and border control officials just standing there because they haven't been empowered. Yeah. They wear a badge, they may carry a gun, they have Humvees, they're there going up and down, but they don't appear to have the backing of a unified government that says, here is your mission. And so we're setting these people up who are trying to do a job to fail because we haven't said, stop the inflow. Just stand and watch it and make sure nobody gets hurt. Well, that's not what border control is.
I think Secretary Mayorkas got a little bit of an earful when he went down there and finally, was face-to-face with some of these men. And Michael Burgess kind of mentioned this, but suicide rates are higher with these Border Patrol agents.
Well, imagine,
alcoholism. They've got a lot of, mental and emotional issues. Right. And then you've also got the fentanyl and a multi-billion-dollar cartel, scenario that's emerged since President Biden. And that's what President Biden has empowered, since he took office.
I think Adam makes a really strong point on law enforcement because law enforcement, what they're doing right now, when they see an overt act and they actually see a crime, they're going in and they're doing something about it. But it's about prevention. And if you're not empowered to make those moves in advance, then the worst is going to happen. The fentanyl is going to get in and the tragedy that comes from that. And of course, all the other things that go on.
And by the way, this whole Title 42 thing has become just a giant sideshow that, somehow if the Supreme Court makes some sort of ruling on Title 42, either yay or nay, you can use it, that'll fix it. No, there are 15,000 people coming in every day. Title 42 is irrelevant. 15,000 people. You could say it'd be worse if Title 42 weren't there, fine, but 15,000 people coming in, it's crazy.
And what are they going to do in El Paso in particular? They had to build this huge tent to deal with the overflow. So those migrants are already there. The 42 ruling was just yesterday. So we got
the only time the Democrats seem to want to talk about this in earnest is when it's on their doorstep, and that's when we had all those complaints with Martha's Vineyard, the Washington, the sanctuary cities. When the migrants are pushed there, it's a problem.
Well, I think what was rich yesterday was seeing how the left was, kicking and screaming about the fact that these 3 buses of migrants were put in front of Kamala Harris's front door on Christmas Eve because it was so cold. First and foremost, there were aid groups right there that picked them up and took them out.
There's no place to put them.
But it was in the 20s in El Paso on Christmas Eve, and they were on the streets in El Paso. A lot of them still don't trust American authorities, and I understand why.
Well, of course. Why would you?
Yeah, they're nervous.
Are you legal? Are you not legal? They don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Well, we've got a lot to go through during this hour, everybody.